Hi, good afternoon. This is Rick from Berkeley, New York. I hope all of you are doing well. Share the link. You know the drill. Share the link. I want to make a statement and discuss some developing issues with regard to the Boston Bascom matter and the DPP and criminal charges that have been filed against Sergeant Bascom. Share the link. And of course, I'll be back in um, just about 60 seconds. I'm actually getting an email right now, so I'm going to review that before I come back on and tell you what it says. Okay, I wanted to read this statement from CGID with regard to the discontinuation of charges against Guyana's crime chief Wendell Blanham by Director of Public Prosecutions Shalimar Ali Haq. Guyana's Director of Public Prosecutions, Ms. Shalimar Ali Haq, yesterday, in yet another act of gross abuse of power, discontinued criminal charges against Crime Chief Wendell Blanham as prescribed by the Cybercrime Act. The charges were properly instituted and constitutional. They were instituted by Attorney at Law Nigel Hughes on behalf of his client, Sergeant Dion Bascom. It alleges that Mr. Blanham, who used a computer system to attack and smear Sergeant Bascom, violated the provisions of the Cybercrime Act. And we all saw Mr. Blanham during his press conference using a computer to do a PowerPoint presentation attacking Sergeant Bascom. The DPP has previously discontinued charges against her East Indian colleagues, who are all members of the PPP and her friends. Her actions in this regard have been racist and partisan. Anyone who's within her PPP circle is apparently exempt from prosecution and from justice. She's communicating to the nation that her PPP, members of her PPP circle are above the law. This is a perversion of the system of justice, and it's a dangerous assault on the rule of law. Mr. Blanham is not above the law. The Cybercrime Act applies to every citizen. Apparently, the DPP believes that the Cybercrime Act only applies to persons who are not supporters of the PPP and not to East Indians who are friends with her or are in her political circle. This action of the police and the DPP indicate unequivocally that the Cybercrime Act is not applicable to individuals with whom she's affiliated. And I must note here that the wife of the crime chief previously worked with the DPP. These ethnic supremacists in the PPP have successfully created two different justice systems in Guyana. One for the DPP and her PPP friends and members of the PPP support base, and the other for all other Guyanese, who they see and treat as lesser citizens, second-class citizens. The conduct of the DPP whenever the PPP is in government confirms that not only is she racist, but she's partisan and corrupt. She's a political extremist who is shamelessly wielding the constitutional powers and abusing the constitutional powers to exempt her friends and political colleagues from justice. She's unworthy of this office. The Caribbean Guyana Institute for Democracy calls on all Guyanese to condemn her racism, her partisanship, and her corruption. That's the end of the statement. Now, there's no question in the view of the Board of Directors of the Caribbean Guyana Institute for Democracy that the DPP has been racist in discontinuation of charges against the PPP government ministers, including the president, Irfan Ali. When an Afro-Guyanese police officer accused Narvan Singh of abusing her, spitting on her, and the police force took no action, she decided to file private criminal charges. The DPP dropped those charges. The DPP, it has been established, is friends with the Singh family. Get that? That's her friend. She dropped the criminal charges against Narvan Singh. Now she's done the same thing for a crime chief with whom she works closely, with whom I understand she has a friendship. They're cordial, they're friends. And his wife also has a close relationship with the DPP. Now, on the other hand, the CID, which Mr. Blanham heads, filed criminal charges against Sergeant Bascom, allegedly because he said Mr. Caesar, Deputy Superintendent Caesar, he was told, received a bribe from the main suspect in the paper shorts case to cover up the case. And he cited different instances where he had concerns about the investigation in which he was involved. He merely mentioned that Mr. Caesar called Superintendent Shabinot Singh of Brickdam CID and asked him to provide a police patrol car for Mr. Bascom and Mr. Bacon, ASP Bacon, to go to arrest Mark Richmond, who the crime chief confirmed is a suspect in this murder. Just for mentioning Shabinot Singh's name, he filed criminal charges for embarrassing him under the Cybercrime Act. Obviously, it is apparent to all that the Cybercrime Act must be unconstitutional because you can't embarrass someone by expressing free speech in this manner, where you're expressing concern about a crime, a cover-up of a murder. I understand that that's what the email is just telling me, that they're now filing additional charges against Sergeant Bascom. Well, let them go ahead and file more. Go ahead and file more, because with every charge they file, they look guilty as sin. They look guilty as sin. I am convinced, based on the actions of the police, that they are corrupt, that a bribe has been made, that they are covering up this case. I am convinced of that because of their actions and because of certain information that we have received. I am convinced of that. That's my opinion. Up to now, this matter has not been investigated. Earlier this year, you heard him at the press conference today. Sergeant Bascom said he informed Assistant Commissioner Watts at Leonora in the compound of the Leonora Magistrates Court about the threats he's received and about his concerns or some evidence about a cover-up in this murder, He met with the Minister of Home Affairs, a very disingenuous, nasty, deceitful man, who himself never disclosed that he had access to this information and these concerns from Sergeant Bascom when he was making these statements, which I deem to be critical of Sergeant Bascom. He pretended that he was not aware. And then Sergeant Bascom detailed in the press conference today that the president was provided this information. He's probably going to say he didn't see it. In any other country, a normal country, this would have been a massive scandal. But what is very clear is the government is itself covering up for Blanham and Caesar because they put them there. They put them there. The Granger administration removed Blanham because of allegations and accusations of corruption. Caesar too. The PPP brought them back there because they want them to protect them. Clement Rohi indicated since 2016 that Mr. Caesar was corrupt. He said he had information that Mr. Caesar was corrupt. The Paul Slower investigation of the alleged mishandling of the threat to kill the president, then President Granger, he conducted a commission of inquiry into that matter. And during the process of that commission, allegations of corruption against Mr. Caesar were ventilated at that commission of inquiry. The PPP looks for the most corrupt people whenever they're in power to run the Guyana police force because they want to hold those allegations of corruption as a sword over their head, to drop it if they don't do what they want, or if they, by chance, launch any investigation against them. And this is the case now. What decent president would have these allegations against senior members of the police force that you asked to be installed there? What decent president would allow these investigations, these allegations to go uninvestigated? And I don't care what they say, these allegations are uninvestigated. The government clearly has no interest in them being investigated because they want to protect and preserve Caesar and Blanham there. What is most disturbing for democracy in Guyana is the fact that these same guys can use the Cybercrime Act to try to silence people from exposing their criticism. That's essentially what's happening. Thank you. They are now trying to use the Cybercrime Act. And based on information, the DPP advised them to do it. She's just as corrupt. She's corrupt. She's using the powers of the office in a corrupt way. She's complicit with the corruption of the CID. And I hope the eyes of the nation are opened and people are analyzing and assessing what's going on. This is a cabal between the ministers of the government, between the DPP and the senior police officers. It is a cabal to protect each other. A cabal. Now, imagine Sergeant Bascom has made these serious allegations. Nobody is willing to look at the allegations. All they're willing to do is to investigate Sergeant Bascom, tarnish his reputation, beat him into the ground, manipulate the justice system so he could go to prison and be killed. That's their objective here. The police objective here ultimately is to expose Bascom to criminal elements so that they could kill him. He might outlive them. He might outlive them. They want to make him a criminal so he could go to jail. The same way they're sitting down and conspiring against us who have talk shows. They're calling up people that I have criticized and asked them to come in there and secretly file cybercrime charges so they could build a file this thick against Rickford Burke to present him to the world as a criminal. I dare them, because when they come after me, I'll go after them back. Hard, ruthlessly. Ruthlessly. That's how you deal with those criminals. Ruthlessly. Somebody has made an allegation against you, and you want to turn the laws on his head to go after them? Sergeant Bascom has more credibility now. You do a public poll than the whole Guyana police force. Nobody believes anything the Guyana police force is saying, and everything they do makes them look worse. They don't want to pile on charge. They're so contemptuous of the public. They're so contemptuous of the Guyanese people. And they're getting support from the government. Make no mistake about it. Irfan Ali is not interested in investigating Blanham. Irfan Ali is not interested in investigating Michel Caesar. He's complicit with them. And in the meantime, the world is watching. And they're doing all of this because they also think, based on actions, they have the support of the ABC countries. They have the support of the ABC countries. Because those ambassadors there are tolerating racism and apartheid governance, and they're lying to their capitals about what is happening in Guyana. Just like Irfan Ali is coming here, lying. He and all his officials lying. Telling people everybody in Guyana lives happily. There's no racism. And the black population does not believe the government is racist or apartheid. We in the diaspora just stirring up trouble because we're upset that the PP is in power. Yes, we're upset that the PP is in power. But the reality is the government is racist. It is the most racist government in the Caribbean and the Western Hemisphere. And any analysis will do that. And like I said, we're making arrangements for a group of US civil rights leaders to go to Guyana to make an assessment and do an investigation. And let's see what the report says. Let's see what that report will say. And that report will be presented to the Congressional Black Caucus. One of the most disturbing things, though, is that while all of this is happening, the opposition in Guyana is silent. And I like a lot of people in the opposition. I have respect for a lot of people in the opposition, and most of them are my friends. But a press statement here and there is unacceptable. You have to represent your constituency. You have to represent your constituency. The opposition is failing its constituency. Both parties. I understand if you're in opposition, your resources is limited. But there's a lot more the opposition can do. The leadership of the political opposition needs to recalibrate itself and become an effective representative of the people that voted for them. Can't depend on us alone in the diaspora to carry the load and the fight. And people in Guyana themselves are too lazy and lethargic. They want everybody else to carry their fight. They're intimidated. Intimidated for what? What the PP government is going to do? Kill you? Marginalize you more than they are doing now? Stand up and represent yourself. Stop writing to me complaining about, up to today somebody wrote me complaining about some water issue, some street. We don't want to hear that nonsense. Call up your political representatives. There's nothing that we could do for you in New York about your water failures or your bad streets. Go to the community meetings. Go to the meetings with the president when you have these meetings and speak out. Don't ask us to do it. We are not your political representatives. Yes, we want to see justice and we're advocates for justice, good governance, good politics. But Guyana will only change if the people of Guyana stand up and represent themselves and fight for their rights. Go out onto the streets and protest. It's your constitutional right. Confront your government representatives. It's your right. Speak out. Let them charge you. Let them arrest you. Politicians in this country go onto the streets and protest and get arrested. That's because they believe in a cause. They believe in good trouble, as former famed civil rights leader and former member of Congress, John Lewis said, I'm going to get into trouble, but it's good trouble. And you know what he was talking about? He was walking with other civil rights leaders in a protest to cross a bridge, in a protest so that blacks can vote. And on the other side of that bridge were white segregationists, racist police with guns and dogs. And they told them if they only come over that bridge, they'll get into trouble. And that's what he said. I am getting into trouble because it's good trouble. It's trouble for the cause of my people so that we can vote. And they beat him up and burst his head. And he eventually emerged as the foremost civil rights leader in America because of the sacrifices he made for this country and for black people. Where are the John Lewises of Guyana? Where are the John Lewises of Guyana? People sit down and complain about apartheid governance. We're tired of the forums. We're tired of the press conferences. Take action. Have a strategy and take action. Go out there and represent your people. Demand, black leaders, demand a meeting with the president and the government. Let them say no because they're coming up here in New York and Washington, fighting, kicking, screaming to meet with black leaders for what only God knows. But they're not doing anything for the black people in Guyana. And you guys are accepting it. We're complaining that black people are not getting contracts. This government is giving out hundreds of billions of dollars in contracts. What are the representatives of the black population doing about that other than complaining? Mobilize the black contractors to form a consortium and let them bid for contracts. Let the government tell them they don't qualify. Let the government tell them, hey, black people, you all belong to the back of the bus. Then you file a lawsuit against the government. Go international. Take the steps. The government is not funding black villages. All they want to do is throw a football. Like if the only thing black people want to do is bounce ball. I'm so disgusted with that nonsense. You have this clown, this junior racist Ramson, run around the country talking about he fixing up soccer field. And to hell with that. Create entrepreneurs. Create a loan system so that young black men can establish viable businesses. To close the wealth gap. So that y'all can't call them hungry belly. They would be able to work and feed their family and not beg y'all for nothing. That's development. That's empowerment. We don't want to get no ball. Don't bring no basketball to Buxton or wherever. Yes, the people in Buxton can get the balls. You have a lot of diaspora committee helping villages. They need empowerment. They need education. They need jobs. They need proper health care. And if the government is failing to do these things, the opposition must mobilize the people. To get representation. The government is there to serve everybody. Everybody. And this notion that every time the PUP is in government, people in the opposition can't make progress, can't survive economically, the businesses can't function and operate without harassment. They can't get contracts. You can't get a job. We have to cut that out. We got to end it. By hook or crook, we have to end it. We cannot allow the people to dominate every space in the country. Even the grass you walk on, they want to tell you whether or not you could walk. The Attorney General, the other day, telling black people you can't have a forum to discuss their racism because it's unconstitutional. Are these people out of their blinking mind? And you guys accept it. I had to deviate there because we need this. I see the government is saying by year end or month end or whatever, they're going to be auctioning off oil blocks. I hope that the black leaders in Guyana, black business people, are mobilizing people to bid on those oil blocks. Because we can't say we ain't get oil blocks and all the Indians got it if we're not bidding for it. Empowerment. There must be a strategic plan in Guyana for black empowerment, minority empowerment, Amerindian empowerment, empowerment of the people who don't support the PPP. There must be a strategy for that. We can't sit back and say, oh my gosh, they're taking all their money and get their friends. No. Fight them for it is yours. Come up with a plan. Let them say no. And the regional democratic councils that the coalitions control, that the government is not funding, they have the REO undermining all of the development projects that benefit the people, take them to court for God's sake. Fight for your people. All those regional chairmen, Daniel Siram, regional chairman Adams from Region 10, Darren Adams, Clarence Williams in Bartica. Fight for your people. Take them to court in a class action. Hire an attorney. Fight for your people. When Charles Ramson comes with balls to give your people, tell him put the balls in his pants because he doesn't have any there. You want development, not balls. You want empowerment, not balls. When these issues, like the Bascom issue, the Bascom is a resident of Region 4. The regional chairman should speak out. The MP should speak out. Represent your people. Don't depend on one set of people, Nigel Hughes, Roysdale Ford, Darren Wade, to carry the burden. You are the elected representatives of the people. Speak out, get involved, hold a placard, even if you alone as an MP. Go to police headquarters, protest. Get on talk shows, condemn it. Call press conferences in front of the DPP's office, condemn her. Be activists. Don't allow the people to dominate everything. My God, the whole damn society is silent and they're being subjugated. You have an apartheid state emerging and you're silent? Don't you guys see around the world how people are activists? Did you see what happened when the police killed the gentleman in New York, Eric Garner, using a chokehold? That's activism. George Floyd, activism. All the laws were changed all across the country. You guys are going to sit down and make Blanham and Caesar intimidate y'all? And some DPP? When the power of the state resides in the people? Men who are corrupt. Imagine you have men so corrupt in such powerful positions, turning around and using the power of their office as police officers to harass and persecute Bascom because he's alleging they're corrupt. In any normal society, they say, okay, I'll step aside, have an investigation. No, in Guyana, we're coming after you. And let me say this, last thing about the DPP. There's a police source in Guyana making very serious charges on record against the DPP, against the crime chief and Mr. Caesar. There are journalists in Guyana who have this information. It is time to release it. It is time that the public knows what these allegations are. And maybe we can have a really big investigation by an international commission of inquiry. People are sending these things overseas to Congress. And these members of Congress don't represent you in Guyana. And I'm happy that Nigel Hughes has said today they will appeal the DPP's, they will challenge the DPP's discontinuation of criminal charges against Wendell Blanham in court. It is time somebody does. And while they're at it, they should even challenge, well, that'll be a conflict. But somebody else needs to challenge the Cybercrime Act. It was bad law enacted by the Granger administration. Bad law. Because now the PPP is misusing and abusing the law to curtail and stifle free speech, suppress free speech. I am pretty sure that this challenge cannot withstand constitutional muster. This action by the DPP cannot withstand a court challenge in the CCJ because the CCJ has already said that's extraordinary power. It's unusual, it's unorthodox. And they questioned it. in the Marcus Bisharam case? I think it is. Well, in that case, it was the DPP's. They questioned the DPP's ability to instruct a magistrate to indict somebody. Makes no sense. And when you combine that kind of power and give it to a racist and a partisan who's an ethnic extremist, this is the result you get: a perversion of the justice system. So I'm happy that Mr. Hughes will challenge this decision. She has not given any reason. And so she can't be upset when people speculate, you're friends with Blanham, you're corrupt, somebody give you something. She has no basis for the decision. Absolutely none. And she thinks that she's Vladimir Putin. She does not have to give the public an explanation. And since the PPP has gone into power, this is the first Black person that she used that power for. All the others have been East Indians. But Blanham is within her PPP circles. That's why we said she's racist and partisan. Racist and partisan. And we make no apologies for it. Her actions suggest she demonstrates she's a racist. Her decisions are based on race and politics. And somebody who's like that, abusing the justice system, should not be in those positions. As a matter of fact, she was admonished by the president of the CCJ about her biasness as a minister of justice, who's supposed to uphold the law and all the constitutional principles that govern rule of law. And then I want to go on to these charges themselves against Sergeant Bascom. Now, I've already said what the DPP and the PP government are doing is setting up, or they have set up, a justice system where there's one standard for PPP supporters and another standard for everybody else. So Shabinat Singh and Mitchell Caesar are the only people on earth who could be embarrassed and feel emotional distress. They're the only people who are above the law. And everybody else must bow down to them because they're associated with the PPP. So they're the ones only can use the Cybercrime Act because they're affiliated with the government and the ruling party. Blanham, no, you can't use the Cybercrime Act against Blanham. He's special. You know, those of you who have read Animal Farm, you can't challenge anything the pigs say because we're in charge. Blanham is in that category. Oh, no, 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 no. The laws don't apply to Blanham. He's one of us. You can't challenge anything he does. He's above the law. But you, Bascom, you're a commoner. You're a commoner. Cybercrime laws apply to you, not a PPP member. So yes, we'll charge you. So they charge Bascom with cybercrime. That's the most they could come up with. Have you guys read the crime? He embarrassed Mitchell Caesar by disclosing that he took a bribe. He caused him emotional distress. So that's a crime. And like I have said, let him go and see a counselor or a psychologist if he's embarrassed or he has emotional distress. Let him go and see a counselor. This is hardball. This is a rule of law. It doesn't cater for whether you're embarrassed if you committed a crime. If you feel that you were accused wrongfully and somebody have libeled you and defamed you, take it up in a civil matter. Take it up with your counselor. Go and get counseling, psychological counseling. And then I want to, somebody by the name of what? RTM Ambani just said, Rickford, bring your so-and-so expletive to Guyana. I want to answer that because it is something that they have been doing, and that person is getting it from the government. Where they're openly saying the Attorney General has done it, Bart Jagner has done it. Come to Guyana, implying, come to Guyana so we could kill you. They're openly saying it, they don't care. Come to Guyana so we could waddle you. I don't think they're aware of capabilities that can wipe out generations. I'm not sure that they're aware of that every action invokes a reaction. I don't think they're aware of that. Check history. It is part of their campaign and engagement in international repression, where they threaten people in the diaspora, where there are laws against that in the United States, and it has been done by the Attorney General and other members of the government, including Bart Jagner. But I'm not afraid of you guys. And water does run in rivers and trenches, right? Other things can run there too. So I specifically wanted to answer that person. You have free speech, I have free speech. You threaten me, I threaten you back. So the last point I want to make, second to last point, is I can't help but noticing that all of these black people in the police force are after Bascom. The rich East Indian businessman who has allegedly has all of them in the palm of his hand like puppets, with whom they're coordinating. They're coordinating messaging in a very clumsy and botched way, I must say. They're using the same language. They come up with the same motivation. Oh, some executable businessman is motivating Bascom. What is the evidence of that? Where's the evidence of that? But in their report or in the information they give to the RASS, as far as I'm concerned, investigator, is that an executable businessman motivated Bascom to do that. And Bascom just created this whole thing out of the sky. Where's the evidence of that? But these are the same people saying Bascom don't have no evidence. They never asked for any, they never investigated the matter. He has no evidence. It's based on hearsay. But they're saying it's an execrable businessman. And the police is saying that, you know. Where we first heard it from? The Georgetown businessman. So they are advancing this hearsay theory while simultaneously accusing Bascom of speculating and engaging in hearsay. And they call themselves police officers. Give us the evidence of this execrable businessman. Show us the evidence. Show us the letter, the text message where this businessman said to Bascom, hey, go and attack Mohammed and the police and make up a lie and say this matter is being covered up. Show us something. Put up or shut up. Show us something. Tell us if Mark Richmond was not a suspect. Allow ASP Sarabo to tell the truth. Allow Mr. Bacon to speak to an investigator. Allow Chabinat to produce his phone record and speak to an independent investigator. Allow an independent investigator to follow the evidence and the forensics. Tell us whether or not the police at any point in time entertained the thought of Azuddin Mohammed being a suspect. Those are the things he's talking about, Bascom has said. Tell us whether or not it's true that while the investigation was in progress, you all borrowed vehicles from Mohammed's. Those things are easily proven, very easy to investigate. But I want the police force to answer this. The crime chief said at his press conference that a close associate, presumably Roger Khan, I think he did say Roger Khan, provided the police with information that 3 people were involved in the shooting of Paper Shorts. He, Blanham himself, said that they didn't want people to say or to be accused of not following leads. So right away, they issued a wanted bulletin for Rondell Bacchus, who was known to the police for his past criminal history. Right? That was his explanation why they acted. They got a tip. 3 people were involved. One of the people being Rondell Bacchus. They immediately issued a wanted bulletin for him. He didn't wait. He called Bascom and his lawyer. And then he called a lawyer and said, Bascom, carry me in, or call Bascom and say, carry me in, and then he tell the lawyer, meet me there, going. He didn't wait. You know what? Out of the police conscientiousness, professionalism, and not wanting to be accused of not following leads. That's it. It stopped right there at Rondell Bacchus. They pretended to want to arrest Mark Richmond, but they leaked the information to the man wasn't there when they arrived, and they never took no other action. The man allegedly walked into CID headquarters twice, walked out back. No questioning, nothing. Why? The crime chief himself said that, and journalists in Guyana, please, y'all do your job. Because nobody asked the crime chief that at the press conference. Nobody. If you were provided with 3 names, including Ronald Bacchus, Mark Richmond, at least, why didn't you put out a wanted bulletin for Mark Richmond too? Why didn't you put out a wanted bulletin for the 3rd person? Why up to now Mark Richmond has not been arrested when the crime chief acknowledged that the men went to arrest him for that, for questioning? Up to now he's not being questioned. Up to now he's not being interviewed or interrogated or exonerated. Up to now. Why? Doesn't that look like a cover-up? Because you know Mark Richmond works for Muhammad. You're like, oh, no, I ain't touching that man, boy. That man worked for Muhammad. He worked for some powerful people. But poor Ronald Bacchus, I mean, I'm not giving him any credit for anything. But y'all arrest Ronald Bacchus, put out a wanted bulletin for him, just based on the exact source, without no investigation, without no evidence. You issued a wanted bulletin for Ronald Bacchus. Why didn't you do the same thing for all 3 of the suspects that you received information about? Why? Why up to now Mark Richmond has not been detained, arrested, questioned, interrogated? Why? And you want us to believe that there's not a cover-up? You want us to believe that this investigation has been conducted fairly, professionally, and in accordance with established protocols? Tell us why. Why all 3 suspects were not treated the exact same way? Has the police investigated why a car that shot up somebody outside the president's house was able to get all the way to the Suesdike Highway, passing all of these police stations? Was somebody in that car known to the police? That needs to be investigated. How that happened? Did the police put up roadblocks? Did they put up a parameter around Georgetown? How this car got to the way, all the way? We need we don't care about your investigation of Bascom. We want proper investigation of the circumstances surrounding the shooting. Don't distract us with all these fairy lights and smoke screen about Boston breaking the Cybercrime Act. That's the best you could come up with. So you have all of these black people, like we curse. All of them are black, going after Bascom as an act of servitude for these rich East Indian guys. That's how I see it. And when you talk about it, oh, he's racist. No. I'm giving commentary on the reality of the society in Guyana. And why has the president acted to grant the request of Attorney Nigel Hughes to place Bascom in protection and to have an international investigation? If based on what if Bascom is correct, and the suspects he named are indeed the suspects, I can see why the president hasn't acted. Because the Mohammeds and him are friends. But is he more committed to his friendship with the Mohammeds? Or is he committed to his oath of office to uphold the laws and ensure that there's a rule of law in the country. Azuddin Mohammed might be innocent. How are we to get to that point? How are we to know if he has been unfairly accused? Only an investigation can determine that. So the longer they take to have an investigation, the longer the speculation and the black cloud would hang over everybody's head, including Mohammed, including Blanham, including Caesar, including Ali, including Ben, who had this information and did nothing. Y'all share the link. I'm going to finish just now. Keep sharing the link. This is crazy. Up to now, they have not investigated this matter. Why? Starbuck News said it's a cover-up of a cover-up. And then, so they charge Bascom. I hear they're going to charge him with vigilance too. They're going to pile all these charges on him. But there's another part that I want to zero in on. They sent the police to charge Bascom for allegedly violating the Cybercrime Act because he embarrassed Chubby North and he embarrassed Mitchell Caesar. And they sent a gentleman, an attorney who's a police advisor by the name of Mr. Moore, to prosecute the case. But I heard the press conference by Nigel Hughes. And under the Constitution, the DPP can designate an attorney to be a prosecutor of a matter. But she has to do that in writing by a document called a fiat. Nigel Hughes is saying that was not presented. It's a letter. She writes to the person, under the powers of the law, whatever, I assign you or appoint you prosecutor of this matter. That was not presented in case, but he, Mr. Moore, showed up to prosecute Bascom for this cybercrime, alleged cybercrime offense. That's one. But then strangely, on this charge of embarrassing Mr. Caesar and embarrassing Mr. Chubby North Singh, causing them emotional distress, actually, those are the particulars of the charge, literally. They're asking for him to be remanded. You see, they're equating an alleged embarrassment of Chubby North. I like the name, Chubby North. An alleged embarrassment of Michelle Caesar. They're equating it with murder or rape or armed robbery. They're asking for him to be remanded so that he can be put in jail and they could get him killed there. That's their objective. Extraordinary. Meanwhile, they're running a criminal enterprise out of CID. Allegedly. That's what has been alleged. They asked for Mr. Bascom to be remanded to jail with no bail for embarrassing Mitchell Caesar allegedly, causing him much embarrassment and emotional distress. Remand you, you're going to jail, no bail. These past people, contemptuous of the nation. Who the hell do they think they are? Extraordinary, unbelievable, incredible, preposterous, outrageous, all of this description you could think. They think they're above the law. And you commit a capital offense if you embarrass them or if you expose them. It's a capital offense for which you must be remanded. And then They asked the magistrate, the chief magistrate, to seize his passport. Imagine that, huh? You embarrass Mr. Caesar, so you must be remanded and you can't leave the country. Because I am king. I am Vladimir Putin of Guyana. You embarrass me, you go to jail, and you can't leave the country. And they're saying that this is not an apartheid state where a few people have the power over the majority of the people. That's what apartheid is. So the magistrate didn't buy the story about he must be remanded because there's nothing in the law supports that. And of course, the High Court would have reversed that. But she told him to lodge his passport. She told him to lodge his passport, and we criticized that decision. We denounced it. It's wrong. Magistrates mustn't acquiesce and rubber stamp unlawful, immoral conduct. What is the basis for it? And I want to read, we issued a statement on it, and I want to read this aspect of the statement so I'm not misquoted. The Guyana Police Force charged Sergeant Bascom with embarrassing and causing emotional distress to Superintendents Mitchell and Chobinot Singh, Mitchell Caesar and Chobinot Singh, under the Cybercrime Act. These are most embarrassingly laughable and frivolous charges. Bascom appeared in court yesterday before Chief Magistrate Anne McLennan. She granted him $300,000 bail. He had three charges, $100,000 for each bail, each charge. And then she asked him to lodge his passport at the request of the police, essentially rubber stamping the police decision. We at CGID have the utmost respect for the Chief Magistrate. But we want to say this. The judiciary cannot be divorced from social realities and its constitutional obligation to dispense justice equally and fairly and within the parameters of the law, I might add. Justice is not only levying penalties for criminal acts. Justice encompasses fairness to all parties in a matter in accordance with constitutional principles. This includes decisions by judicial officers that are fair and proportional to an alleged act. In other words, what we're saying is this. If I'm accused of mashing Mr. Jones's toe, and he felt that that's an assault, and he files assault charge, he go to the police, and he said, well, this is harassment or whatever it is. You can't sentence me to life in jail. Or if I litter the streets of Georgetown, throw a piece of cigarette paper or cigarette box or a burger wrap, you can't sentence me to life. That's unconstitutional. It's excessive. It's inhumane. That's what she's done here. She's restricting his liberty because he allegedly embarrassed Chobinot and Mitchell Caesar. Oh, the chief magistrate cannot be oblivious about the circumstances of this matter and the high probability that Bascom can be eliminated. His attorney has been screaming from the mountaintop that his life is in imminent danger. Mr. Bascom himself has said that he has been threatened with death. The police has ostensibly questioned a suspect, we understand, in this regard. But we know that the police leadership wants him dead. They're carefully choreographing the circumstances to present itself. They took away his gun. They rejected an application for him to get a firearm license. They blocked him from getting a personal gun. They want to expose him to criminal elements to be killed. That's what they're trying to do. So it's against this backdrop that we have taken a very firm stand. We believe it's a mistake for the chief magistrate to have asked Mr. Bascom to surrender his passport on these frivolous charges. We believe her order is incomprehensible and disproportionately unjust. It's unjust. Surrender a passport for embarrassing two cops who are accused of corruption? And particularly unjust when the Public Disclosures Act prohibits this type of retaliation. And that's what these criminal charges under the Cybercrime Act are. They're retaliatory. They're retaliating against him. They're trying to punish him for speaking out rather than investigate what he has accused them of. Such decisions by magistrates and judges must be criticized, because they're part of a society and they cannot be divorced from the realities of the society. It is flawed, it is based on flawed reasoning, it is injudicious in its applicability. It suggests a willingness of these judicial officers of the court to grovel and ingratiate themselves with the political directorate and rich business interests, rather than fulfill their constitutional obligations without fear or favor. That's how we interpreted this decision. And it's an ongoing reality in Guyana, where the judicial system is a laughing stock to the rest of the world. I just wanted to make that, register that concern of the Caribbean Guyana Institute for Democracy. And I want to end by saying this. We want to see where this matter will go. Bladam and Caesar and Robertson Ben and Irfan Ali must understand this matter, this one here, is not going away. We cannot have senior police officers being accused by more than one person of the exact thing and no investigation, no disciplinary action, nothing. It's not going to happen this time, even if we have to rally the world. And I want to announce today that we have retained the services of a lobbyist to address this matter. CGID and other groups in the diaspora, we have retained the services of a lobbyist to do the same thing the PUP doing, lobbying the United States Congress, lobbying the government. We will now lobby the United States government, we would lobby the Congress, we would lobby the international community on this matter. On this matter and other matters. We are not going to allow this to be swept under the rug. And like I said, there's another police source. We have seen it. Another police source making worse charges against CID leaders. Worst. Involve murder for hire. Police officers being paid by business interests to take people out. Those are the allegations. Crazy. Crazy. Scary. And then you have a president running around the place telling people about Guyana is a fair country and whatever it is. And up to now, Mr. Bascom can't get a fair hearing. Right now, he's up here talking a bunch of bilge about how fair the government is, and they're driving black people down to the ground in Guyana. And finally, I want to address another burning matter. There's a not-for-profit organization based in Georgia, Atlanta, Georgia, which acquired a piece of land at Peters Hall, East Bank, Demerara. The organization's name is called Caring for Others. Caring for Others in 2016 acquired a piece of land at Peters Hall. And they acquired a house, this land, to house a warehouse facility at Peters Hall because they want to now open up in Guyana. Care for Others is the largest non-for-profit organization in the south of the United States. That's my understanding. And so the Granger administration sold them this plot of land, plot A2, at Peters Hall. The arrangement was done through NISIL. The payments were made, the people pay for the land. Suddenly the DPP decided, without even informing the people, that they're going to take back this land. Black people? No, black people cannot get this prime land at Peters Hall. No. This is land for East Indians and expatriate rich people who could bribe them. Give them a $500,000 bribe, US bribe. Remember that? This land here is for them. Those category of people. You must be East Indian to get prime lands in Guyana. So no. That lady there that got that prime land in Peters Hall, take it back, man. Take it back. Give it to an East Indian businessman. Because we are the only ones, this is them talking to themselves. We East Indians are the only ones with birthrights in Guyana. Them black people that come from Africa, let it go back. Or put them to the back of the bus. Give them some wasteland some way. Excuse me? So they took back the land. Sold the land without communicating to the people in Atlanta, to the African Guyanese Americans in Atlanta. They didn't even have the decency to say, well, this is a mistake, the thing got mixed up for nothing. Just take the land and give it to an Indian. And the CEO has written to the president since August 2nd. Today is the 16th of September. He doesn't have the decency, the civility to acknowledge her letter. Well, dog, cat, we got your letter, we're investigating it. Well, you're black, you can't get it, this is for Indians only. Nothing. Not a response. But he is in America talking about come to Guyana and invest, come back home and Guyanese, we are government for everybody. One Guyana, one East Indian Guyana. That's what they're promoting. One with their policies and practices. One East Indian Guyana. And I'm reading from here a letter that the CEO has written to the Vice President of the United States, who Ali just met with, informing her of this development. And I'm aware that they have now hired attorney Nigel Hughes to take this matter to court. But these people eyes really past Black people. They think this country belongs to them. The PPP think this country belongs to them and the East Indians that support them. Not even the East Indians that don't support them, because they're treating them the same way as outcasts. Not even the Amerindians. They think Guyana belongs to them and their rich friends in the private sector, that they can go and take away a land that a Black woman bought and give it to an East Indian man. You're damn eyes past Black people. And they don't want us to talk about these things. Oh, Richard Burke is racist. How dare he talk that the government has given the land to the East Indians? That's his entitlement. Burke cannot talk about that. Well, we live in America. This is a diverse society. We start for Black people and talk for minority rights and talk for the disadvantaged and talk for everybody that faces injustice. And it happens that this racist government of Guyana are treating Black people unjustly. They're marginalizing African Guyanese and some East Indians who don't support them and Amerindians. They're subjugating us. They have a noose, the racist KKK noose around the neck of Black people in Guyana. And they want to suffocate us and stifle us to death. We will not allow it to happen. Black Lives Matter. We will not allow it to happen. Jump high or jump low. You could stifle all the news, get the ethnic media. Up to now, nobody in their ethnic media has spoken about this matter. Not Dennis Chabral, not Stabrook News, not iNews, not Newsroom, not Kiteshore News. Why they want to suppress news of the apartheid policies from leaving Guyana. I noticed it was in the Village Voice. And on Monday, or sometime next week, when we get permission from our legal advisors, we will release the names and the documents, the name and the document of the person who they gave this land to, and the documentation along with it. We will release it because we have it. And they talk about, oh, you don't have any evidence of racism. I wonder what this is. I wonder what this is. Are you kidding me? They haven't even said, well, take back your money. They just take the land and sell it to another man, an East Indian. Not a letter to the woman, not a notice, not an explanation. Oh, we're supreme here. We're East Indians. We're supreme. We're like white people. We're the new plantocracy here. We're the new colonialists. We want that land. We'll take it. Really? And then nobody must talk about it? No, it's not going to go down like that. We're going to go to the mat on this one too. We will go to the mat on it. You hear me? You're not going to treat Black people in the diaspora this way. If the Black people in Guyana want to sit down and take abuse, that's fine. You're not going to abuse Black people in the diaspora because we rough here. We speak truth to power. We fight. And we're going to fight y'all on this one. We don't care how much Sarah Lynch you got behind you. We don't care how much lobbyists you got behind you. You're not going to take this Black woman land away that she paid for. So whoever acquired this land, plot A2, that the PPP took away, stole, and unlawfully sold or leased or whatever to one of their supporters, y'all better make a call to Atlanta. Because you're going to start hearing everybody talking about it, from politicians here to CGID to everybody. And I hope when Ali has his meeting in Queens, because, Queens is their headquarters, we don't go where black people are. We go to Queens, our East Indian constituents. Yeah, we'll have a meeting with our East Indian brothers and sisters, because those black people belong to maybe Venezuela or Angola in Africa or something. The black people in Guyana in the diaspora, we don't get services, We're not Guyanese. So I hope one of my East Indian friends in Queens ask the apartheid president when he goes there next week, how dare them take away the land that a black woman and she organization paid for and give it to an East Indian? That's the question I want to ask. I want them to ask. I've taken up enough of your time. Thank you for listening. I really wanted to make this point. We'll have another edition of Conversation with Rick Burke on Sunday at 9 p.m. Have a good afternoon, everybody. I hope you enjoy your weekend. Everybody stay safe in Guyana. If you're using the roadway, please be safe, please. Drive like if everybody's stupid and you got to take all the care in the world. Too many deaths in Guyana. Too many road deaths. My dad died on the road in Guyana. One of the worst accidents in the country. So I can identify with that. And I've been talking about this matter for decades. No improvement. And as we develop the country, we have to develop safety measures for the roadways. You can't develop and want to put that kind of highway or whatever it is without regulating properly the use of the road. So have a safe weekend, everybody. See you Sunday.